Donald Trump has spent much of his second term attempting to bend institutions to his will, from academia to the legal system. Now he's turning the screws on some of the most powerful tech titans in the world. First, there was Trump's Oval Office meeting Wednesday with Apple CEO Tim Cook, where he made it clear to the tech giant he wants the company to make iPhones in the U.S. And while Cook didn't announce the Made in USA iPhone that Trump maybe wanted, he did flatter Trump by giving him a customized plaque with a 24-karat gold base, of course. Then Trump went after Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan, calling for his removal, claiming he is conflicted because of alleged business ties to China. That same day, Trump signed an executive order taking aim at alleged discrimination against conservatives by large banks and directing regulators to investigate and punish financial institutions for, quote, politicized or unlawful debanking. Joining us now to break all of this down is Dan Ives, Global Head of Technology Research at Wedbush Securities. Dan, thank you for being here with us. So what do you make of this not so subtle effort from Trump?
Look, I think you want to play nice in the sandbox with Trump. And I think the reality is that's something that Cook and Apple saw front and center, because when you're on the outside looking in, that's not a good place to be, especially given tariffs. When you look at Apple and India and China, and that's why that $100 billion investment, now they get the thank you card, you get an exemption. And I continue to believe like the chance of actually making smartphones, iPhones in the US is a fairy tale. I believe that'd be $3,500 iPhones. They will continue to be made in China. And I think that's what we're going to see.
But you give Tim Cook props for how he's navigated this politically.
10% politician, 90% CEO. And that's what Cook is. But Cook's also seeing what Jensen's doing with NVIDIA. And what you continue to see everyone else, I mean, that is right now, that's the script. Because if you're on the wrong side, tariffs, you start seeing more and more of the headwinds. Obviously, Intel, that's what they're seeing. And I think that's what investors want to see companies be on the right side of Trump. And I think that's something, look, it's a clear balance that they're trying to strike. But for Apple, Cook needed to make the move.
So are we going to see more and more of these guys walk into the Oval Office with 24-karat gold toys for Trump?
Look, I think, we're going to continue to see more and more of this, especially when it comes to big tech, because we're in an AI revolution right now. Fourth industrial revolution is why we're so bullish on tech. If you are not on the right side, these tech companies, you face massive tariffs and headwinds.
Well, so let's talk big picture about this fourth revolution, industrial revolution, which you're the great guru of, and I love following your tips. But so where does the 100% tariff on this industry, where does that end in a year, 2 years? How does it slow the revolution that's happening and impact this AI economy that is so strong? And it seems like Trump is almost trying to put a damper on it.
Sure, and it's a great question. And then the question would be like, why is the market shrugging this off? Because the market views it's invisible ink, pencil, chalk. It's not pen, and it's not marker. That these are tariffs that are going to continue getting negotiated down. And for companies that ultimately, if they play nice and you build in the U.S., you get exemptions. That's why the market's shrugging off in terms of the view that this is going to be the dark cloud for semis. And companies are trying to navigate that tightrope, especially when it comes to semis.
But isn't there a potential danger, given how much the market is sort of over-indexed in tech, in chips, in AI right now, NVIDIA, other sort of stocks in that way, that there could be a knee-jerk reaction from the market that could sort of really spook investors with respect to this 100% tariff situation? Or even worse, a long-term impact that could have a really devastating effect on the economy at a time that we probably can't afford to have that.
Yeah, it's a great question. Obviously, we saw the white knuckles in April, especially Liberation Day. I think right now, look, when I think about AI revolution, for the first time in 30 years, U.S. is ahead of China when it comes to tech. But it comes to our view that you could have some knee-jerk reactions and some nervousness in the market, but we think about it, in the AI revolution, it's 10 p.m. in the AI party. That party goes to 4 a.m. A year ago, it was 9 p.m. So we're going to navigate some of these headwinds, but that's why tech companies, they're one step ahead of it. When you look at Jensen, when you look at Zuckerberg, when you look at what we've seen, obviously, with Cook, but look, this is not going to be a smooth road. I believe but it's the reason that we believe tech stocks are up another 25% over the next year.
What does this spell for the everyday person, the person that the Trump campaign, claimed they were speaking to, fighting for, working to bring prices down for, make sure they wanted to do this whole tariff thing to bring manufacturing back to our shores so that people could have jobs in some of these factories that have left towns all across the United States. But these people do not have these stocks.
Right.
They are not invested in these companies. Maybe AI is already changing their lives, but they're well into their careers and probably aren't trained on or certainly not part of this fourth revolution that you're describing. Are we all, many of us, going to be left behind in the whole thing you're describing?
Yeah, and look, for someone like myself, 25 years doing this travel around the world, and especially around the U.S., when it comes to what we see with tech, I actually think on one hand, the AI revolution, it's going to be massive industrialization, a revolution that we see in terms of software engineers, developers, more and more companies in the U.S. But in terms of the tariffs, look, who pays tariffs? It's consumers, right? So when you think about increase in prices, it's consumers that will pay that. And I think that's right now what you're trying to see play out. On one hand, you have this industrial revolution. On the other hand,
you got prices going up and
prices
jobs in some sectors going away.
And the longer that 100% tariff stays in place, the more attention is going to be caused because it's going to create a pressure point on the pockets of everyday consumers.
Well, and then there's the question of natural resources, too. Do you think that that's the next move? Do you think that's hitting 12 o'clock when AI is putting so much stress on the global natural resources?
You need 6 to 8x more power.
Yeah.
So when you talk about there's more data centers under construction today than active data centers. That's where nuclear, and we talk about names like Aqua, which is in our lives, AI30. I think that's when you talk about what the pressure is here, you're going to need, from an energy perspective, nuclear is really going to be the answer. And that's going to be the next battle you see. Because, again, everyone loves nuclear, just not in their backyard.
Yeah, okay. Dan Ives, thank you so much.
You.